Howdy folks, Rudros here. Welcome to another Lorcana Wednesday. And this week, as I am quite a bit tired, I just competed in a Final Fantasy tournament this weekend in Kansas City, and I have my own store championship coming up this weekend. I just wanted to take a look at one of the local store championships that happened here in St. Louis. This was at a place called Game Night. I will probably do a report on how I personally do in my store championship after this weekend. But I didn't want to skip a Wednesday, and some of my friends played in this tournament, so I kind of just wanted to review the decks that showed up there. So, our top, I believe this was first place. My info isn't 100%. Again, it says first. I believe this competitor's name was Will, so I'm assuming they won the tournament, or at least they were in the top two. So this is an Emerald Steel discard deck. And yeah, it looks pretty nice. Tiana shown up pretty well, I would imagine, in this tournament that shuts off action abilities. They can't sing, they can't use actions while she's exerted. She does still die to a Maui, but we also have a nice discard package with Ursula, Flynn's Robin Hood, obviously shift into Big Robin Hood. Interesting, there's no whole new world in this, although that makes a lot of sense. If you're going for discard, you don't want to refill their hand. You have your own form of card draw in the form of Beast, and we have 3 Johns, so anytime you make them discard, you're kind of keeping yourself ahead. Curse Merfolk is, of course, great. Flynn is great. All these just put early pressure on your opponent. This probably isn't looking to go too late. Love the one of Robin Hood. He's just a 4 lore quester, so he's a big threat that demands an answer immediately, which is difficult to do if Tiana's out and you've cut off their actions. Facilier is quite interesting. He's only a 1 of, and he prevents them from questing, so if you ended up in a race, he could just turn off, nah, I'm not going to let you race. Obviously, we have big... I'd be curious to know how much he came up, if he actually showed up much, or if it was just, it was like, it could have been a different card. For Ursula, plenty of songs, A Strength of Raging Fire, Storm Rage On, Mother Knows Best, Sudden Chill. Yeah, that's a lot of songs for her to sing. We know how strong that card is when it can go off. Yeah, this looks solid. Kit Cloud Kicker to knock off some early aggression. 1 Baboom. It's really interesting to see this get favored over Fire the Cannons. I don't think I've ever seen many people shoot locations with this. They tend to just shoot characters, and you are paying double the price of Fire the Cannons, but it's inkable, so I would assume that alone makes it worth it. What do we have? We've got 4 here. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 4, 12, plus 3. Yeah, and we're still at 15 uninkable cards, so that's a fourth of the deck right there. Cool. That's a cool list. Pretty solid, what I would expect from Steel Green discard. It's really interesting that these lists have just completely moved away from the Flynn Rider that can quest for 4 potentially. I really like that card, but I guess it just doesn't really fit in here. No Bucky either. So our forms of discard are really on Merfolk and Flynn. And maybe they just find that to be a bit more reliable, that, hey, one of the issues with Bucky and John is they couldn't really quest because they just exposed themselves to die. Whereas a card like Merfolk says, no, I'm going to quest immediately, put on a lot of lore pressure, and you have to answer me. And if you have to attack me, you're just losing a card for it anyway. Yeah, this is a neat list. Next, we have, this is someone I know personally, is my buddy Max, playing his bread and butter Ruby Amethyst. One thing I note right off the bat that he said later was he didn't realize he only had 3 rabbits. And he saw the deck, he saw the list, he was like, oh, I thought I had 4 full rabbits. I guess I don't. All right, anyone got a rabbit I can borrow? So a lot of this is your typical Ruby Sapphire, Ruby Amber stuff. Let's see how many uninkables we've got here. 4 Dragonfire, I'll talk about that in a minute. 2 of a Tremaine, Medusa Split, so that's 8. Plus the 3, that's 11. Plus Be Prepared is 15, 16, 17. 17 uninkables. Quite high. 2 of the Fishhook, I absolutely love to see that. I do still really like Spellbook. I know it's been cut from a lot of lists. I enjoy it quite a bit. There are some matchups it's really dead in. The previous Steel matchup, if our opponent has Benja and they just break it, yeah, it doesn't feel very good. But especially in the mirror, you have to have the Spellbook to just put on some of that lore pressure. Of course, for Be Prepared, it's insane to me that I've heard other YouTubers suggest, oh, maybe you should cut this card, or maybe you don't need to play all the copies. It's like, this is the card that gives you that top end that if you're getting aggroed out, you can just clear the board out. Now, Be Prepared. I cannot imagine cutting a Be Prepared. Queen's Castle, of course, strongest location in the game. And just a lot of removal. Lady Tremaine, Medusa. I'm a big Tremaine fan myself over Medusa, but Medusa is great in the right lineups. There's some things she doesn't hit, but if they have a Tragic Beast, if they have this Robin Hood, if they have this Ursula, and another character on the board, Tremaine can't just snipe that, so Medusa is really good at getting rid of that. Maui, of course, great, and of course your Merlin Mim package, Goat. Only 2 Snake, that's interesting. That's really interesting. We went in, we do have 8 1-drops. Went in on Chernobog's Followers. I must admit, I'm not a huge fan of this card myself. I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually quite good. I don't know. Not my style, I suppose. I really do favor the turn 2 Snake. I run 4 of them. But maybe less Snake does make a bit more sense if you're that heavy on the Followers. You're not always expecting to have that character to bounce back to hand. Foxes, of course, great. I still like Maleficent quite a bit. The more card draw, the better. One Crab's a little low for my personal taste, but it looks like he felt okay, especially with 2 Fishhook, although they're a little different. I do love Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse can be pretty brutal in the right matchup where you just put on a bunch of early lure pressure. Maui standard, Goat standard. I like the dragon on the top end. I do really like Dragonfire, and I really like that Max is willing to play this card. Yes, it's uninkable, but there are some times when on that turn 5 you have a target, you have to take it out, and it's not exerted, so Maui can't actually do anything about it, so the Dragonfire just says bam. You could argue, now there's no Pinocchio in this list, there's no last ditch effort, anything to exert those characters, but I think Dragonfire covers that, right? Now, instead of having to see Pinocchio and use Pinocchio in combination with the Fox, with Maui, with whoever, now the Dragonfire says, yeah, I don't care. That's great. You're not exerted. Boom, you're gone. And if you think about it, like, what stops that? A ward? Well, if they have ward, Pinocchio can't hit him anyway. And if they have evasive, then potentially your attacker can't hit them anyway. And Dragonfire just says, yeah, I don't care. I'm getting rid of that. This really actually makes me want to slot Dragonfire into my list. I don't know where I would find room for it, but I do like this tech a lot. So I can see why this got as far as it did. Yeah, everything else looks really good, man. So many uninkables. I myself would be very nervous running this many uninkables, and I wonder if he got bricked quite a bit, but I love it, and I do really like the Dragonfire tech. All right, Austin, another good friend of mine, went for the blue-red package. I love that he's on the bell, and I'm just a personal fan of this. That Lucky Dime, it's not so all-in on the Tamatoa. Not running the Gaston, which I'm fine with. I know there is the kind of considered tested, tried and true red-blue version that has Gaston and all these other things, but I like that, you know, people are willing to try different stuff, and I don't think this stuff's bad. A lot of top-end removal with Maleficent. You're planning to ramp out. You've got your Fishbone Quill. You got your Popsicles. 4-1 jump ahead. 3 How Far I'll Go. Very interesting. I love this card, but man, the amount of uninkables. So what are we at? 1 plus this is 8 plus another 7 here. That's 15. Plus 4 is 19. Plus 2 21. Holy moly, Austin! I don't know how you pulled this off, because I would not be doing well with 21 uninkables. Now this is a deck that can quote unquote kind of get away with it, because again, Fishbone Quill can put those uninkables in the inkwell. 1 jump, if you're putting the top ones in and they happen to be uninkable, you're avoiding that way. But good golly, love Tamatoa, of course. 2 Develop Your Brain. 2 Grammatala, essentially the same card. Flaversham for the to break the Popsicles. I like Shield of Virtue too. Shield of Virtue is interesting that you can quest with a Tamatoa or a dragon, then ready it to either protect it or send it in to attack something, which is quite cool. Really good at beating up locations. Only 2 McDuck Manors, but yeah, that seems fine. Our early game is definitely weak, and so I wonder if this ended up facing the red or the green steel list. Because really the only thing we can do in the early game is Queen of Hearts, and we're only running 2 of those. So we're absolutely hoping we hit those 1 jump aheads, we hit those quills, that we got to ramp up quickly, because I would assume this potentially could get beat up on by aggro if they're going fast. This is far too many uninkables for my personal taste, but he made it to top 4, so clearly he made it work. Yeah, it's a neat list. I do love How Far I'll Go. I like this card a lot. It's just, again, when I'm looking at all these uninkables, decisions have to be made. He did favor Medusa more over Tremaine. Again, I'm a Tremaine guy myself, but there are sometimes Medusa is the better card, and it just really depends on the situation. It's cool. Here we have Bradley, another friend of mine. Let's see, how many uninkables are we at? So this is Sapphire Steel. And we have... Okay, so now we have our Gaston. 4 Hades. I like that quite a bit, actually. Hades is a really cool card, and sometimes you just need that spot removal, right? If they put out an Ursula or a Tamatoa, something that has a huge health pool, a Cinderella, you need to just get it off the field. You can't sit there and try to just poke away at it with all your attack cards. So there's 6 there. There is 1 that's 7. Plus 2, grab your swords is 9. Plus 4, whole new world, that's 13. Plus 4, long game Zeus, 17. Plus 2, how far I'll go is 19. Oh my goodness. Plus 4, 1 jump ahead is 23. Plus 2, lucky dime is 25. So I'm not going to count all this up. I wouldn't be surprised if this is over 60 cards. Brad really loves running more than 60 cards. I know some players are like, that's just objectively wrong. But I know he really likes those, so I'm assuming this is more than 60, because good golly, uninkable, Miss Molly. Which is wow. A lot of removal with the Zeus. Whole New World, obviously, is really good when you're running cards with, or deck with this many cards. Our only real location killer is a 1 of Rise of Titans. Otherwise, we're trying to beat in with our bodies. And, yeah, in case you didn't notice it, look who's here. Yup, gosh. Big old Goofy, Night for a Day. I'm assuming, I'd be curious to know how much this Goofy actually came up. I know, and again, look at all this ramp and card power, so he is expecting to get up there. He's expecting to drop this and say, all right, well, deal with this, or I'm just going to go quest to oblivion. Also, it'll kill anything it comes in contact with. Tamatoa, of course, Cinderella, Gaston, yeah, big Robin Hood. It's really interesting. Oh, no, he's running Benja and the Beast. I was going to say, it's interesting so many people switch to the Beast, but Benja's obviously just cheaper. Yeah, no, very low on the low end, right? We don't have any Captain Hooks, so we can't protect Smee. Cogsworth obviously can. Our only 1 drop in the entire deck, as far as characters, is Robin Hood. Obviously, we also have cannons, popsicles, etc. More How Far I'll Go. Yeah, How Far I'll Go really showing up at this tournament. Again, this is a list. I like blue. I like the blue-gray. I would definitely cut my version down to try to fit very close to 60. I don't think you have to have a hard 60. Like for me, there isn't much difference between 60 and 61, 61, 62, especially if you have a lot of card draw. But this one is going to be a bit out of my range, especially with all those uninkables. I'll have to talk to him and see, man, how much did that really mess you up? So it's cool. I always love that he's willing to march to the beat of his own drum. And I really do like the Hades in here, too. And again, I love How Far I'll Go as a card. It's just, yeah, it's got so many uninkables. What a list. Next, we have, probably, I'm not going to know these following people. So this one looks a lot more in line with what you kind of consider a modern blue-gray list. We have the Hooks. We have Mickey's. We have Gaston, 2 of the Beasts. We're running the Tinkerbell, which I don't believe Brad had in his list. No, he did not. Hades, but only 2 of them. 2 Titans. And we've kind of spread out our removal a bit more. Everyone seems to think 2 lucky dimes is the right number. I think I was playing 3 back in my very original list, but maybe that was too much. It's nice because you can get it back with Tamatoa, but we aren't running Tamatoa in this list. We aren't running Flaversham either. That's really interesting. We have the popsicles. Oh no, I'm sorry, we are running Flaversham. I'm blind. So, just no Tamatoa. So once they're gone, they're gone. No real way to recycle. No insane target for Lucky Dime. No Tamatoa, no Bell. Obviously, Gaston is still a very good target for that. Even any of these 2 lore questers, that it's just a little bit extra. On a full 4 McDuck Manor as well. Yeah, this one looks a lot more what you would consider like your typical blue-gray list. So, trying to think if there's anything I would check. Let's count the uninkables, shall we? So we got 3, 6, plus 4 is 10. Plus 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. Yeah, this would be a lot more my speed. Even 16 makes me a little bit nervous, but I would certainly feel more comfortable with 16 than 25. Yeah, I like this one. I think all the key pieces are here. Could maybe dispute a ratio or 2. I personally would like to have a Tamatoa in here. Granted, I don't know what I would cut for it, because this is a pretty tight list, but just my personal preference. All right, next we have a list piloted by a player named Andy. Here we have a nice red-blue. This one also looks a bit more like kind of the ones you would expect to see. We do have some Judy hops, which probably not meant for our own pop, probably is just kind of like item hate against our opponents. That way we don't just lose the flute song. I do like that we got the full Bell Tamatoa package in here, so Dime really shines here. Fishbone Quill, Popsicle, yep, Shield of Virtue, 4 Be Prepared, 3 Let It Go, that's good, 1 Single Hades, 2 of the Scar, it's a little much for me. I think 1 is just good. I like that, a little heavier on the Tremaine. I personally like that. How Far I'll Go, well, I'm really surprised to see so many How Far I'll Goes. Man, did that card like spike in value or something when I was out of town? I love that card a lot. I think it's cool. I actually really like it with Flaversham because, you know, you'll have those games where there's only a single Popsicle, he comes down, he breaks it, and then he doesn't really have anything to do, and him singing How Far I'll Go feels very good. But let's count up the uninkables, because that's what always makes me nervous. So we have 5 here, 6 here, that's 11, plus 1, 2, 3, 4. 11 plus 4 is 15, plus another 4, that's 19, plus another 21. Man, oh man, gosh, that's so many uninkables. So for me, I get kind of nervous around 15. Even that's like a little high for me, but that's kind of about the ratio I'm willing to go, right? That's a fourth of your deck. If you have a 60-card deck, 15 uninkables, that's a fourth of your deck is uninkable. When you're getting into 20, 21, now a third of your deck is uninkable. Again, this is something I would be curious to ask these players. Hey, how much did that come up? Did that brick you a lot? What happened? As far as, again, the card selection seems pretty on point. What you expect for these, a lot of top-end removal. I do love that Bell and Tamatoa are here. You can just recycle the Popsicles. Lucky Dime has some huge, huge targets. 4 Maleficent's nice too. Yeah, I personally would probably maybe put 2 more Develop Your Brain in over the How Far I'll Go. Even though I get it, I love that card. Interesting Shield of Virtue has shown up. I wonder if it's just because it's a cheap item for Tamatoa. Like, I'm surprised to see it consistently show up the way it has. Interesting. This does have 4 queens, so this one probably has a little more chance of beating up on aggro. Same with Judy. Not that she's some great attacker, but it's something. It's a body early if you absolutely have to. Interesting. Next we have, I almost didn't see the blue, Amethyst Sapphire, which is a very cool color combination, piloted here by Chris R. I really like this combination. I've wanted to try it myself. The only thing is it just doesn't really have much removal. Amethyst, all of its removal is challenging through characters. It has very, very little spot removal, as we can see here. The only thing in this list that's Amethyst-based is Yzma. I guess you could kind of count Elsa's removal, but she's more like a lock or a stun for a turn than an outright. You know, the thing is still on the board, so if they're way ahead, you're still going to have to get rid of it at one point. Let It Go is the removal here. Yeah, so a 2 Yzma and 1 Let It Go. That's only 3 cards in the entire deck. That's spot removal. However, yeah, see, it's interesting. I wondered, at first I thought, well, maybe this is just a low-end aggro one, but we've only got 1 Arthur, so I don't think the Arthur bounce game plan is a huge part of it. It's like, if that comes up, cool, but that's clearly not all in. Obviously, we have the Madame Mim Merlin package. Only 2 Merlin Rabbit. That's interesting. We do, granted, have a secondary draw engine with Flaversham and the Popsicles, so maybe because of that, we felt like we didn't need to go all in on the Rabbit. Also doing 3 Motunui and 2 Queen's Castle. Castle's obviously good. Motunui, interesting. So Motunui is very good with cards that have Rush, although in this list, only Madame Mim Fox does, as you can bring the card in, move them to Motunui, and then immediately attack with them, and if they die, they just go to your Inkwell anyway. This is interesting. Yeah, this is an interesting amalgamation. I wonder how fast this went. If it tried to go really quick, or if it slowed down a little. It has ramp in here as well. There's no Fishbone Quill, but we are running 4 Mickey, and, I mean, Tala's not really ramp. She's just, you know, she lets you scope further. Yeah, this is an interesting list. I do like the 3 Elsa, whether it's the right choice or not, but you have to have, if you're looking for some kind of top end, which clearly this list is, you have to have something to hold them down, and it's one of the few cards that can, again, it's not direct removal, but it at least prevents them from questing. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is probably the most interesting one I've seen so far, just because it's pretty unique. You rarely see these colors together. I mean, it made top 8, so it clearly did well to some degree. I wonder what it ended up facing and what it lost to. Yeah, I would love to talk to the pilot of this, because a lot of cool choices here. I wonder if it'd be better to go in more on the Arthur package, kind of cut out the top end and try to go really low to the ground. But maybe this list just isn't that fast, or maybe this color combination isn't that fast. So because you're naturally going to get to the top end, you have to be ready for that. Yeah. I like this one, again, as far as unique and concept. I don't know how good it is, but it was good enough to make top 8, so that's something there. And I'm assuming this is our last one. This is by Kirsten. This is an Amethyst Emerald list. These started showing up quite a bit last week as a way to counter the heavy ramp decks. That these are so quick and they put on so much early lore pressure that if you have decks like Ruby Sapphire or what's the other ramp out one, Sapphire Steel, that by the time they're set up with their ramp, yeah, they have an insane top end, but you've put on such early lore pressure that even if they can stabilize and like wipe your board, you're usually already on 14 lore, 15 lore, 16 lore, and then maybe you can just cheese out the rest of the win with a goat or even just a Robin Hood and say, hey, answer it, and see if you can. So definitely some 1-drops. Let's see. Early Curse Merfolk is fantastic with the Flynn as well. And then you've got the Mim package to protect them. So you can quest with the Flynn, quest with the Merfolk, bounce it with the Snake, replay it, bounce it again. So now they still have to deal with it, but you're just delaying how long they can deal with it. Ursula obviously singing not a ton of songs here, but still just one friend's on the other side. Just this card has gotten its value, and Mother Knows Best being able to bounce 2 things too. And what I do find fun about this list is that normally bounce isn't as good of removal as a banish or just something that outright gets it off the field because they can just play it again. But if you're going aggressive and they have to be putting bodies down to try to answer your characters, that's huge. You're just, that 1 turn delay can be massive. So 1 Yzma, 1 Robin Hood. I'm assuming this wasn't really going for top end, so the 1 Yzma, the 1 Robin Hood was probably just in case of emergency, hit this button. A lot of control with the baby Ursulas. Yeah, this one looks really solid. This one looks very refined. We've got our 5, 7 1-drops. Let's see how many equals we're running. 4, 2 is 6. Plus another 4 is 10. 10 plus 3, 13. Yeah, so this is my favorite uninkable count that I've seen so far. I don't think I did the uninkable count for the last list. I'll have to go back to that and check it really quick. But yeah, 13, so it probably doesn't brick too often. No, this is nice. This is a really nice low to the ground. I am curious. I'd be curious to know how much crab matters in this list. Assuming you're trying to go faster than your opponent, do you really need the crab? Or, I don't know. Surely that must have come up in some instance, right? Maybe as like a counter to take out opposing locations, would be my guess. It is a great target off of Madame Mim, as she can suddenly hit for 7. She can take out an opposing castle. Yeah, this list looks really nice, really tight. Did a quick count on that previous blue-purple list, and that only had 12 uninkables, so I really like that one too. Finally, here is a little graph of all the decks that were the type of decks that were brought to this tournament. I was told there was 30 players total, and so 5 of them brought Sapphire Steel, 5 brought Emerald Steel, 5 Amethyst Emerald, 5 Ruby Amethyst, 4 Ruby Sapphire, 3 Amber Steel, 1 Amethyst Sapphire, 1 Emerald Ruby, and 1 Amber Amethyst. So pretty diverse breakdown. It wasn't heavily skewed in one thing's favor. Kind of surprised to see no Steel Song in the top, as that deck's just so strong, but maybe it ran into bad matchups, maybe it bricked, who can say. But yeah, so it looks like they had quite a bit of variety here, as far as it was pretty well-balanced scene. So there you go. That is the tournament here at Game Night. Congrats to all these players. Hope they had a great time. Wish I could have been there. Looking forward to my own set championship that I'll get to attend this weekend. If I'm lucky, I'll get a second one, but it's very likely I might just be able to go to the one. So thank you for watching. Good luck in your own store set championships. I will be back with hopefully a positive review telling of my own after this following weekend. So I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. And until next time, take care.